Good evening, welcome to Hollywood Balls with me, Geordie Pete Redding, and him, George, TFA. Welcome to our TFA community. Now, this is one I've been waiting for a long time. He's played for England, he's played in the Premier League, but now he's making his Hollywood Balls debut. So when we come back, it's a big welcome to Steve Stone. Stoney, you're joining us literally after probably one of the best rounds of your career, I would imagine, just leaving the golf course. Am I right?
Well, not so much. I hadn't played for about a week, been in Jersey with some friends, but slapped it round. But had a great time playing at a close house in the northeast, which hosts the British Masters. To be fair, and it's a great it's a great addition to the northeast. You know, we love with sport up here, and it's
Lee Westwood's course, isn't it?
It's Lee Westwood's course, yes. You often see him up there practicing and doing his bits and bobs, and obviously we're all hovering around trying to get some tips, but it hasn't worked so far. But it's a great addition to the northeast. You know, it's a fantastic place. You know, I think I've talked about the sport that goes up in the northeast with Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, golf, and all the rest of it. It's a great addition, and one that long may it continue.
Something else that long may continue. Got to ask you before we get into interviewing you about basically all the fans will want to know about the history of your career, and it's a great career. But first and foremost, it is a Euro show. You must have been absolutely delighted last night with the result and the performance.
Well, I was delighted with the way Gareth set his team up. It was obvious that the first goal was going to be massively important. I've played in loads of games like this, whether it's an FA Cup tie or a European tie, where they're really tight and cagey. And halfway through the game, you know, we're getting texts on a group WhatsApp that we're on saying, "Oh, we're not playing very well. This needs to change. That needs to change." And all I'm thinking to myself is, we look strong. We haven't conceded any goals. They've had a couple of chances. We've had some chances. The first goal is really important. And I think Gareth's got a spot on all the way out through the tournament. He's taken a little bit of stick for probably the Scotland game, where we could have been a little bit more adventurous. But last night, I thought he got it spot on with his substitutions, with Grealish coming on. Harry Kane's been getting loads of stick, but he was the man to finish and seal it off. And, you know, when you get to 60 minutes in a game of a Euros like that, players start to tire. And that's when you need to bring players on who've got a little bit of flair, who can change a game, who can open something up. And Gareth's been remarkable on what he's done. He's not being fazed by anybody saying this is not working, we're too defensive, we're not open enough, we want to see more attacking football. He's just stuck to his guns, and he's got it right. I think what you need to do in tournament football is make sure that you peak at the right time. You really need to peak at the right time. And we've been a little bit of a slow burner, but you know, we haven't conceded any goals, so how can anybody complain?
They can't. And what you're saying is it's so funny, because George and I have said the same thing all the way through our Euro show. George, you literally said, didn't you, it's about peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was frustrated, like many of us were, with the first English game, but they got the good result. And rather than start fantastically well, it's very difficult to maintain that. It is always better to build, start like a slow burner, as Steve says, for sure. But I think the game against Germany yesterday, we saw many insightful things that I think bodes incredibly well for England. Incredibly well.
It all seems to be coming at the right time. Listen, Steve, we've got our TFA family in the house. We've got people from all over the world. We've got Nigeria, Cyprus, Turkey, everywhere. And what we do is we'd just like to introduce our players. Now, when you started out, I mean, Nottingham Forest obviously has a very special place in your heart. Now, I've known you a long time, and I know what a great player you are, but also a great friend. I only found out literally this week when I was doing my research that a player who had such a career as yours, 3 broken legs you had, right?
Yeah, it's not many people know that. Trying to keep it secret, but I broke my leg when I was second year scholar. Friends because of that, and hence how I now have my job at Burnley, probably. But I then broke I then broke it again when I came back. It didn't heal properly. I was out for 9 months to a year. Broke again, out another 9 months. Came back, had another year playing reserve team football, getting near the first team. And then it broke again. And the third one was quite a nasty one, which kept me out probably over a year. It was probably the one which really...
I think we've lost Steve a little bit. Yeah,
we're going to struggle with him whether if he's in the car or on the phone. But a remarkable story, George.
Yeah, three broken legs. Jesus,
yeah,
are you back, Steve?
Sorry, I'm back. Yeah, I'm just coming down the drive now. I will literally run in my house and get myself into a.
Okay, well we'll let you do that. We'll let you do that because I'm gonna come to George because George, we put you on the spot last night with a quiz from our Geordie Stato, Dave Huggan. And for the guys that missed it, I'm going to play it again because it was quite the quiz. Have you been looking at it today?
I haven't had the time, and I need more time to research it. It is.
Well, listen, we're gonna play the quiz question again. So then we'll play the answer at the end while Steve gets in and beats the dogs.
Yeah.
All right. Hello there. It's Geordie Dave Huggan with the Stat Attack time. Now, I've got a quiz question for you this time, and I don't think you can Google this. You certainly couldn't last time I looked it up. But I would like to know who were the 4 players to score goals at the old and new Wembley. Only 4 players scored at both venues. Now remember, the old Wembley closed in 2000 and the new one opened in 2007. So there's a 7-year gap where games weren't played there and games were played at Cardiff instead and other venues as well. So it's a bit of a tricky one. Somebody who had to be around in the 90s, somebody who was around after 2007 as well. And only 4 players did it. Can you name the 4? I'll give you the answers tomorrow.
So we played that yesterday, and it's had massive interest. And I've been on at him all day, and he won't tell me. He said, "No, you can't." And I've tried to Google it. I think I've got one of them. But what a quiz question that is from our regular Stato. Steve's back with us. Are you in the garden, Steve?
I'm back in my garden. Yes. Can you believe it? Is that okay? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, we can hear you. No problem. We were saying no, but Forest, it had a special place in your heart. But another stat that I found out today was that was there a chance of you joining Man United?
Yeah, but that's probably when you've played loads of games for Forest and you get the opportunity of being around the top end of the Premier League with Forest and all the rest of it. The big boys start to come and hunt, don't they? Start to look at you. It got to the stage where they were obviously talking to the club and me agent and all the rest of it. But let's be honest, they had some fabulous players at the time. We never got to the stage where I was actually in the building at Man U and negotiating the contract that way. So interest from them, but they had some decent players in the back in the day. Borski, David Beckham, all them wide men that were top draws. So yeah, they probably were after us and all the rest of it, but it never happened. And that's just one of the things you got to get on with in football. That's part and parcel of it.
You played at Villa. I'm fascinated to know when you played at Villa. John Gregory was there. Was he a real old school gaffer, Steve?
No, he wasn't. John was new school. He was a bit of he liked you to play hard. He liked you to keep clean sheets. 0-0 was a good result at half time. He liked that. He liked his defensive unit. We played with 5 at the back. But he was also very modern in his way of thinking as well, because he was playing that 3-5-2 and going the way of teams that had played in Euro 96 and following Venables. We played this throughout my whole Villa career, and we were very different to everybody else. And he was very, very forward thinking, tough, but forward thinking in his approach. He had psychologists in the building and the likes. And he was something very, very different to me. He had Steve Harrison, who was an England coach and been there with Greg Taylor for many years. Real good coach. So John was taking things forward, not old school at all. And I enjoyed my time there in terms of he was something very, very different, as you can imagine, to Brian Clough, which I'd had before.
We could probably fill a show with Brian.
Yeah.
Have you got a favourite Cloughie story for us that's clean?
Well, one, I used to go and do his garden. So when you're an apprentice, he would shout to Chas, the maintenance man. He'd say, Chas, get a couple of lads. But what he was really doing, he was getting a couple of the better apprentices up who he thought were actually maybe had a chance, who he wanted to sort of get to know. So me and this other lad went up, we'd been picked to go up and do his house, and you go up and you do his garden, and and you're there all day, and at the end of the day he gives you 20 quid. And what he does is he cooks all this beautiful food on an Arga. There's food everywhere. And he just basically gets to know you. So you go in around about 12 o'clock and he says to you, son, do you want a glass of wine? Would you want a beer? And of course I'm from Newcastle. I'm going, of course I do. I'm having a glass of wine, but I'm 17 years of age. And I decide to, no, Mr. Clough, no, I don't want anything to drink. No, I don't want anything to drink. Drink it, son. And so you had to drink this glass of beer. You had to drink the glass of wine. And he was just testing. And actually, he would ask you about your family, where you came through, your roots, your football background. And he was great. And then we go out in the afternoon. He'd always say, watch me flowers, son. Don't touch me flowers. So of course I just mowed them all down by accident. I took the lot out. I took all his flowers out. He went mental. He went mad enough. And that's the cleanest Cloughie story I've got.
Yeah, I can imagine. I was speaking with Kevin Campbell, our own Super Kev, before.
Yeah,
he's got quite a few Cloughie stories as well. Maybe one for after midnight, George.
Yeah, we should do one of those shows, but not record it.
No, just for us. Yeah.
George, I see you'd have to pay me a fortune to get me to tell you some of them stories.
George, I mean, what are your memories of? I mean, obviously, you're talking about, for me, my favourite time of being a football fan, getting to see the likes of Super Kev and Steve Stone in the 90s. It was just a fantastic time. Never mind just being a Newcastle fan, but being a football fan at that time was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a golden period. There's no doubt, and the teams that Steve played for, Forest and Newcastle, they played good football, right? There's so many Cloughie stories. We all know the story where he said that, if about the long ball game, right? He said, if God wanted that, he'd have put grass on the clouds, right? Remember that?
Yeah, that's the one.
So you know that Steve was very fortunate, and he contributed to it massively. To two teams playing great football. That's a great feeling, It's a great feeling.
And Steve got into coaching, obviously. I've got to ask you, because it fascinates me, obviously as a Newcastle fan, what was it like going back to your hometown club to be involved? I mean, I know your fam. I know Carly Ann, who's absolutely brilliant. And I used to text her and say, when the Toon had scored, Dad and I would watch you off the bench. It was literally like you could have been in the Gallagher end. It must have been a dream come true.
Yeah, it was there. It was no different. I mean, you felt an added responsibility because you were from the area. Myself and John Carver, both Geordies, through and through, and you do have added responsibility because you go home at the weekends and your family are always on you about the results, and your friends and supporters who you know. So it can make it difficult at times, I'm honest. But saying that, you work incredibly hard to try and make it as successful as possible. And I was with Alan Pardew there for 5 years, and we managed to finish fifth one year and not just miss out in the Champions League by one spot. Got into Europe, got to the quarterfinals and had some great experiences. And other years we had some tough years where we actually just managed to just avoid relegation one year, and then had some sort of 9th, 10th finishes. But to stay in the Premier League with the budget we had at the time with Newcastle, and I think it was a decent achievement. Obviously, at the time you want to do better, and you're always thinking you should be pushing up the top end. But you've got to compete with the big boys. You've got to spend what the big boys are spending, and we weren't quite spending as much as them. But we still had some successful players come through. You like Loic Remy and Demba Ba, and it was a joy to work. It was a joy to work with Johan Cabaye, by the way, and Colaccini and people like that. These were top players, and it opened my eyes to their mentality and how they went about their job as foreigners, because I'd been used to a lot of British players throughout my whole career, and this was something new.
I've got to say, George, I used to bug Steve on a Saturday morning. He probably was expecting that WhatsApp every Saturday. Just typically, as a Newcastle fan, what's the team? And
never came through, did it? It never came through, did it? Never came through.
No, I know, and I still tried every Saturday, and I had to wait. I had to wait until 2:00 to see what it was. But I always sent him a text afterwards saying a great game, or because it means so much to the fans, but it also means a lot, as Steve's just said, being a Geordie and being part of that club. Where they're at now, Steve, does it still need that change at ownership level?
Do you know what? I don't know if the ownership. I think the ownership probably would need to change only because it's probably got into such a place where I think it needs to change. Maybe just for everybody's a fresh start. If you're a footballer at a football club, you probably need to change every now and again. And whether Mike wants to do that, I don't know behind the scenes. It seems if it's always up for sale and seems if it's always close. So Mike must be looking to sell it as well. And I've met Mike and I know Mike, and Mike's fine. He's just he probably either wants rid of the hassle from it as well. Nobody wants to go through the hassle that the fans go through. Steve Bruce is the manager, and Mike Ashley. It must be really difficult for all parties. But until it's resolved, then Newcastle fans will keep going and they'll keep fighting and scrapping and singing their hearts out. And Steve Bruce, as a Geordie himself, will try and get the team to get as high up the league as possible. And they were getting a lot of stick last year, Newcastle, because of where they were in the league and how they were performing. But I always looked at Newcastle's injury record last year, and I just thought, you've Callum Wilson, when you get him back in, St. Maximin, when you've got him fit, you've then got pace. You've got pace in your team, and then when they brought pace back into the team, the results at the end of the season showed what that squad is capable of. So for me, they're a team that are mid-table at the minute. Should be around about the 10th. If they can push them from there, they're having a good season and a cup run. But that's all because of how much you spend. You need to spend money at any level.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Steve, you're in the game at a big club, and a club that nearly got sucked into it. Under 23 at Burnley. How's that going?
Oh, I love it. It's I've been doing that now 2.5, coming up 3 years at Burnley. A very different role to what I've been used to at Newcastle's first team, dealing with professionals and trying to look for 3 points every year. This is when you're dealing with under 18s, 19s, 20s. You see them develop week in, week out, and you see them progressing so quickly. And it's like having kids of your own. When they make their first team debut, I think we had 5 or 6 first team debuts last year. And it's just so rewarding. It's like being a dad watching your kid go into the first team, So that is the rewarding bit of that side of the job. There is frustration, of course, like every other job, where you're always wanting a bit more, and you want to try and take them further forward. That's my job to push them 23s forward. But being delighted with what the club have done so far and how they've progressed, because everybody's trying to catch up to the first team. It's as simple as that. The whole club is trying to catch up to what the manager and the board have done over the last sort of 7-8 years.
Speaking of the manager, I've got to ask, because he fascinates me, your gaffer. He's a real breath of fresh air. He's very forthright in his interviews and his media work. What's he like to work for? Exactly
the same. He's if you work really hard for him, then he expects that. That's for sure. It's not a case of well done. There's no well done's because you work hard, because that was expected of you. But like I said, I was an apprentice with Sean at 14, 15, 16, 17 before he moved on to Chesterfield. I think it was when he was 18. We've known each other ever since and been friends. And I know his personality and he knows mine. We're both winners. We both want to work hard. We're both scrap to the end. And that is what Burnley is all about. The humility that runs through that football club. Everybody's humble. You don't get any big time players, any big time staff. Everybody knows that we're going to have to work hard every single Saturday to get those 3 points. And that's instilled from the manager. So what you see is what you get. That doesn't change behind the scenes. And he's great at doing that. He's produced the same message for the last 8 years. And that's a difficult thing to do within a football club.
Is it a togetherness, Steve?
Yeah, of course
it is. Togetherness?
I think most teams need togetherness to stay in the Premier League. But when you've got the finances that Burnley have got and Sean's had to work with, then there's a huge togetherness within there. We realise that the individual doesn't matter; it is the team that matters. And he's done that. He's done that amazingly. So when we sign players, for example, it's more important that the player that's coming in can fit into the group, and not that he's going to add something different. He has to fit into the group that's there already, because the group is more important than the individual.
Yeah, Steve, it's incredible that Sean hasn't won Manager of the Year. Okay. It's just crazy. And listen, with the utmost respect to Pep Guardiola, he has unlimited money. Doesn't guarantee success, but when you have so much money, it sure enough increases the chance of success, right?
Yeah, Sean has been. I was just going to say, because he was up for Manager of the Year about 3 years ago, I think, when we finished 7th. And I think it must have been really, really close between him and Pep, who got it. Now, I know Pep won it that year. And Sean hasn't said anything about being disappointed or anything like that, because he's not like that.
He's not like that. He's
No,
not
he's not
that.
like he's not like that. But I suppose deep down, the fact that he's getting recognised and the job he's doing, he knows what people think of him. He's not daft. He knows that people know that he's doing a good job. Otherwise, people would be telling him. The media outlets are out there telling you 24/7 whether you're doing a good job or a bad job, aren't they?
Do you think? How do you see Burnley evolving under Sean? With, we read in the papers that he's going to get a little bit more money to spend on players. Do you think that's going to have a major impact?
I think when you're at Burnley, you've got to be careful that you don't change everything too quickly. I mean,
Right.
the new American guys that have come in at the minute have said, there'll be money to spend, but we'll not be spending fortunes. We'll not be, we'll not be doing a Man City. And I think that's the right approach, if I'm honest with you. I think this team has been built, and this club has been built over 8 years since Sean's been there, with his staff doing a fabulous job. So to rip it all apart, I don't see that happening. I don't see why you would do that. I think you'd be adding a couple of players every window, and I think you'd be building, surely, and put the foundations in again for the next 8 to 10 years. I think that's what it's all about. We've got to make sure in the Premier League. But of course, we know that, and everybody at the football club knows that you have to progress and you can't stand still, otherwise you go backwards. And I think Sean will be trying to do that. He'll be trying to edge it forward with his personality.
Yeah, he's building a great legacy.
Yeah,
great legacy.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's what he'll be remembered by. So if he can stay there for whatever time he wants to stay there, he will build a legacy that he leaves some of the training grounds, a new £10 million facility, and that all comes by Sean and the club and what they've done together as a staff to try and to leave that for future generations, for future kids coming through.
Right, we're going to dive back into the Euros. I could talk to Steve all night about home and playing golf in Newcastle, but we can't. We've got a bit of Euros to catch up on. You must have thought last night. I mean, does it bring all the memories back from your Euro campaign?
For the first time I went down to a local restaurant stroke pub in Ponteland. I watched it with my 2 daughters who had their England shirts on, my wife. And fans were all singing songs, and I got in amongst.
You weren't in a Diamond, were you?
I was, yes, I was. Yes. I was outside the back of the Diamond, and I was watching it there with the big screen on. And it was, do you know what? It was actually for the first time, because I'm in the business, so it can be, to get away from the business can be difficult sometimes. You've always got your business head on. But last night I was thinking like a fan, and it was quite emotional at the end to think that. You know what? I was really proud for Gareth, because obviously I know Gareth from U96 and played with him at Villa as my captain. I was really proud for Gareth. I was really, really pleased for him. And I was really pleased for the country. After COVID and everything that everybody's been through, it's sort of like a summer of, it's coming home and all the songs are on, and you can't help but get swept up by the emotion of it. And I'm just hoping for everybody that, we put in a good show Saturday, we can get through. We've got the right side of the draw, and you're going, hey, you never know, do you? You never know. You never
know.
Well,
that's where I'm coming to, because they have got the right side of the draw. Because when you look at Friday, George, I'm coming to you first because George, you're a massive La Liga fan, so I'm going to give you Switzerland and Spain. Everyone goes, oh yeah, Spain they're up there, they're favourites, but Switzerland, they've literally defied everyone all the way through the tournament, haven't they?
Listen, if you beat France, you can beat anybody.
Yeah.
We can all complain observe that France were 3-1 up with 10 minutes to go. They should put it to bed. Still, it takes some doing to score 2 goals, stay extra time, and win on penalties. So there's no easy game. No easy game.
Not now.
Spain and Switzerland, the Spanish are playing with great flair. A lot of youngsters in there. It's a tough one to call. I can't wait. What a tournament, right?
Absolutely. And then, Steve, arguably, probably the tie so far is going to be Belgium-Italy, because Italy is everyone's favourite team. You say that because they're just playing so well, but against Belgium, what a game in store, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can call that one. I mean, I have been really impressed by Italy right from the start. You looked at them, the first game, I can't remember who they played. They weren't a great team they played against, but still you've got to put them to bed, and they did it with a bit of pomp and style. And you look and thinking, they've got the defensive capabilities as well. So they seem to have the balance right. They can defend and they can on the counter attack, or they can take you up the top end of the pitch and they can keep the ball. So I really like the way Mancini's got them going. But Belgium, it's always the same, isn't it? They come to every World Cup and Euros with this golden generation. It's whether Belgium can keep everybody fit. Is Hazard fit? Has he got a niggle in his hamstring? I'm hearing and stuff like that. If they keep all their players fit, then you've got Lukaku up top who can pull something out of nothing with his strength and
He's
power
a beast, isn't he?
He's a beast. He can be a one-man show at the top end of the pitch. It's whether he can actually Belgium can break down that really, really tough Italian defence. But what a game that's going to be. That's the one you're looking for. You'd love that to be a semi-final game, wouldn't you? With a real
exactly.
So it's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a shame we've got it so early. But hey, listen, we got to take it, and it's good news for England because one of the top seeds goes out.
It's exactly.
I've got to say a big hi to Steve Haysom, massive Spurs fan. He's just messaged us that he's off to Rome to watch the game. Yeah. So good luck to him. Great lad, massive Spurs fan, George, even nearly as big a Spurs fan as yourself. Then the Saturday, though, it sees, and I find this an intriguing game, George, Czech Republic against Denmark. What do you fancy there?
Again, they're all very difficult to call. I mean, the easiest game to call is the England game, you'd think, because Ukraine is.
You think so?
I don't want to.
You're not going to put the mockers on this, are you?
No, I don't want to tempt fate. England have started well. They're building momentum. There's huge confidence. Czech and Denmark. It's going to be a real close game. Czech Republic have performed better than many people think. Difficult team to beat. They got big centre backs, great on set pieces. Denmark need a little bit of guile to beat them. I wouldn't surprise me if Czech Republic beat Denmark. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. And the Danes are a very good team. It's a very good team. I mean,
they've proven it. I've got to leave Ukraine to England, obviously, for our guest. I'm going to put Steve on the spot. What do you fancy there, Stoney? What do you think? Can we do it? Is it coming home?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping it's coming home. I said we've got the right side of the draw. The momentum's there with us. We're starting to just peak just nicely.
Put him on the spot.
You can feel, the confidence in the squad just built. Yeah. You can feel the unity all starting to come together. You can feel the country, the manager, the players, everybody coming together at the right time. Now that momentum still needs to go into a football match, and I think we just got that at the minute. We're talking about Harry Kane up top and not scoring enough goals, not playing well enough, not having enough energy. But we're not conceding. And when you haven't conceded a goal throughout the whole tournament, you've got a massive chance. I mean, we scored 2 last night, and you think, we can get 1 or 2 every game. And if we've got 0, we've got a great chance. And it'd be nice to see Harry Kane get another one and come into form and all the rest of it. I think what's important at the minute is I think we've got so many options from the bench. Although it was really good last night. Then Saka's came off. He's done his bit. He's played 60 minutes or whatever. He's run himself into the ground. And then all of a sudden you bring a fresh pair of legs. These are good substitutions to make. When your wide men who are explosive, they run out of energy, and they can run out of energy in the last 20 minutes of a game. And if you can bring somebody on who's got that same guile and power and pace, you've got Foden still to come in there. You've got Mount to come in the middle of the park. There's so many good players to come in there. And the manager will be looking at it thinking, actually, who am I going to pick? This is a great option to have. And obviously on the night, it's going to be a difficult game still. It's going to be tight. But I think we've got enough. And I think we've got enough in the fact that we've got enough experience and youth, power and pace and guile from the bench to take this one on. I think we'll win.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, Stephen. I've been thinking about it all day for Harry Kane because he reminds me. He's a talisman, which you probably know where I'm going to come here. It's like Big Al. Remember Euro '96, and everyone was on his back. Big Al, he hasn't scored in 12 games. This, that, the other. Harry Kane scored. So is that it? Does he go on a run from now to the final?
Well, that's what you hope with centre forwards. Centre forwards get into a rut of just being in the right place at the right time, and when they're not in the right place at the right time, it becomes very difficult for them. And I think I was listening to Al on BBC last night. He says Harry Kane will have had sleepless nights about what's happening. About being the talisman. Where's his next goal going to come from? But for Harry itself, and this is probably a bit where Al at the time. I don't think we've created enough chances for Harry. I don't think we've put enough crosses in the box.
Totally.
I think we've tried to keep possession too much at times instead of, lifting the long ball in behind them and stretching their centre halves and trying to take them on the back foot, playing some, maybe some balls just down the sides to turn them and get them stretched. It's very difficult to play against teams like Scotland and sit right back and get 11 men behind the ball. Where's the space for Harry Kane? Well, if teams are going to do that, when we have to stretch them, we have to put diagonal balls over the top, we have to overload in the wide areas, and we have to get more crosses in the box. And sometimes it doesn't have to be the perfect ball; it's just to upset the apple cart. And I don't think we've done that enough. And I think if we can do that, I think Harry would be delighted with more better service coming into the box. Better service he needs.
Yeah, I would say, as a Spurs fan, I would say that Harry Kane is not the most important player in England. The most important player, in my opinion, is Jack Grealish. He's the one that creates magic. Yeah. And I've said it 1,000 times. You know, I think Gareth Southgate's doing a great job. I would build the team around Grealish. It's no coincidence. Grealish comes on, more chances. Harry Kane looks more lively. He gets more chances. He scores a goal. I think England just goes up a gear when Grealish is involved, and he hasn't started a game yet. You know.
I just asked you this question back: Would England be as defensively secure from the start of a game if Grealish played?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's a good question.
I know,
but
I don't think Gareth wants to go away from that. Gareth doesn't want to go from trying and test it. I can see why he's not playing him, and I can see why he brings him on when everybody's tired with 30 minutes to go, because that's when gaps start to open up and space starts to open up, and a fresh player like him can really destroy teams, and that's why I think Harry's been really good.
Yeah, he took off the Arsenal boy for him, right?
Sacco,
he did.
Yeah.
As Steve said, he ran himself into the ground, didn't he?
He did great. I think
first major tournament.
He's had a great tournament. I think. Yeah. But England just needs to focus on Ukraine. Forget the rest.
Yeah.
Just focus on the next game. And if England focus on the next game and think about that game only, I think we will prevail. I think we'll get to the semis.
I do as well, Steve. Listen, what we do is to round off. We always ask our guests, just for our fans, because you played at such a top level, and it's fascinating for us as fans to find out who was the hardest opponent that you ever played against. We love this question.
This is the easiest question I ever get asked, because you've got to remember, I played against Stuart Pearson training every single day for 10 years at Nottingham Forest. How can you? I mean, Stuart Pearce used to just.
Did he batter you in training?
Oh, 100% he did. It didn't matter. It was a Thursday or a Friday. He was coming after. Pearce played 100% every single day in training, and then he went into the games exactly the same. And he would play like that every day. And I got caught on the end of a few, couple of swipes of his, but nothing to try and hurt you, but just the way he played. So 10 years of him. There's no way you're going to compare anybody else. No chance.
Yeah. What a pro! What a great professional!
Right? Great guy as well. I must say, great guy.
Yeah.
What a top bloke.
Yeah. And you loved at the tune as well. Listen, we had that quiz from yesterday, and I played it again at the top of the show. It's bugging people, so I'm going to play the answers. It's the 4. George, you're going to love this, and it's not who you expect, by the way. So let's get the quiz answers from Dave Stato.
Hello there, it's Geordie Stato, Dave Huggan here, and here is my answers to the question from yesterday. So the question was, can you name the 4 players who scored goals at the old and new Wembley Stadium? And there's lots of suggestions that were incorrect, like Beckham and Scholes and Sheringham and Gerrard. But here are the right answers. So first of all, Michael Owen. Owen scored for England against Luxembourg in '99 at the old stadium. He also scored for England a couple of times at the new one, and he also scored for Man United in the 2010 League Cup final at Wembley as well. The next one is Emil Heskey. Heskey scored for Leicester in the League Cup final of '97, and he scored for England at the new stadium. The next one is Nwankwo Kanu, who scored for Arsenal in the Charity Shield of '99, and then scored for Portsmouth in the FA Cup semi-final and final in 2008. And the final one, with the longest gap between goals, is Kevin Phillips, who scored in the Championship playoff for Sunderland in a 4-4 draw classic with Charlton, which was eventually won by Charlton on penalties. And he also scored Crystal Palace's winner in the 2013 Championship final as well. So those are the 4 players who scored at both of the Wembleys. Cheers. Speak soon.
There he is. I mean, literally, this guy his brain must be bulging with stats. It's absolutely incredible.
I got all of them, Pete.
Did you? You got all of them, yeah?
I think
just hold your pad up and prove it. Listen, it's brilliant. Steve, before we let you go, I've got to say, you're looking very tanned. You were in my brother-in-law's country, say country. You were in Jersey. How was it?
Oh, what a beautiful place! I played a couple of games of golf. The restaurants were amazing. Just what we need, we try and go to Portugal or Spain every year as a group and try and get a few days away. As an alternative, Jersey was just amazing, So it's one that we'll definitely go back to, and I'm delighted that they hosted us. Some great people, some really good people there. So delighted for that. We're ready for football again now. Ready for pre-season next week.
Ready to get back into a pre-season. I mean, it comes around really quickly, and it's looking sunny in the Toon, by the way.
Well, it only came out the last hour or so. Back, it's like it. It could be snowing. It could be snowing by tonight.
Listen, it's been absolutely fantastic catching up with you. We really, really appreciate it. We hope that England go on and do the business and get through to the final. Something that you know very well. Is it coming home? Yes or no?
Yes, 100%.
100% from Steve Stone. Absolutely brilliant. George, great to see you again. And we'll be catching up again tomorrow night for another Euro show. Steve Stone, we thank you so much. And before I go, because I've got to leave it right to the last minute, here is the last code for all our fans. There you go. It's TW. So you've had 12, 39, TW. See, George, I always help them out. I always give them a little bit of a helping hand. There's your code.
Can you repeat that? 12?
There you go. 12, 59.
Yep, there you go.
TW. My eyesight's not what it should be. Absolutely brilliant show. Steve, we thank you so much for taking part, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers, brilliant. Thanks, guys. Speak soon.
Pleasure, Steve.
Cheers, John.